ground, shaking underneath, trying to take me alive. Get ready for the fallout. Can't stop me now. I got no rival. I'ma fight my way through the blood and pain game of survival. Any time or place, watch 'em run away. I got none. I'll be standing on my own, never gonna take my throne. I got no rival. Watch 'em run away. I got no, I got no rival.
Hello and welcome back to Turf Morehouse TV, where we have got today's prediction show. Boo. Hope you are all well and had a good, well, let's say a good start to the week. Let's hope so. Anyway, it's Carabao Cup. Carabao Cup is currently on as we speak, and there is some games tomorrow as well, which should be quite fun. I know we've got Forest away tomorrow at the City Ground, so I'll keep calling them knots just to piss the fans off. Why not? I mean, it's just bants, innit? They can't take it, some of them, because cricket takes priority up there. However, that said, hope you guys are all well. You absolute legends. Get your comments in, get your predictions in. As you know, we do this differently, but I will run through it all after once I bring our guest in. And I've got a cracker for you this week, an absolute cracker. Great guy, so down to earth. He's like me, but a southern version. And I say southern just because he's currently in Southampton or around the area. So I will sort of just I'll take it on the chin in that sense. Although he'll probably be like, I'm nothing like you. You're a bit of a retard. That said, let's get into it. We are on socials. We are all over the place like a social media whore bag. You can find us wherever you like. We are everywhere. But here's just a few places of where you can find Turf Morehouse TV. So please do go check us out on socials. We are all over the shop. But not only that, if you are watching us, we are currently now live on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Twitter, I believe. So do check us out on all them platforms. You can join us as well. You can join us. We have hit monetization. We are in the big leagues, punching and rolling with the big boys. You can get us for just 99p per month. You get loyalty badges, member shout-outs, guest appearances, and all the members that become members of this channel, obviously, will then get their pictures on our YouTube page, and you'll be there. Say, look at me, I'm a fully pledged member to this guy, even though I'm a nobody, but still, 99p does help and contributes to the channel. Exclusive emojis, which I'm also going to be adding to as well. But yeah, please keep the good times rolling. Let's have a look at the table then after match week 3 for the majority of teams. It's probably better if I did hide my face. I think you'd all be happy with that. Face for radio. But City are sat at the top of the summit. Everton, who a lot of people predicted to face the drop this year. Looks like they're going to go there, doesn't it? Is Sean Dash still going to be in a job the time he comes back to Turf Moor? Who knows? Luton and Burnley probably expected to be in and around it, but it is still very, very early days. And both those two sides were meant to face each other the second game week. However, that never came about because Luton's ahead of schedule stadium wasn't ahead of schedule. So we couldn't play. How that works, I don't know. Right, let's get our guest in before we say a couple of hellos. It is none other than the man, the myth, the legend that is Sam. How are we doing?
Oh, hello, my friend. Very pleased to be on. Thank you so much for having me, and what an introduction. I'm like your Southern comfort, I think you described me as, which is unbelievable.
No, honestly, thank you for giving up your time for coming on. Really appreciate it. What Sam does, we're a host of other crew members, etc., and YouTubers. They all tune to get together and do an absolute football podcast. Brilliant channel. Been on there a few times myself. Always love it. Always a laugh. And I'm going to hopefully get a few of the other guys on as well for some of these, which should be fun. But Sam, yeah, as I say, you do help out on the Absolute Football podcast. Tell us a bit about it, when you started it, what its common purpose is, and yeah, shout out your links. Let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we do what was called the Absolute Football Podcast. We're not far for our year anniversary, I think we were talking about it. So, there's me, Josh, Charlotte, who kind of came from another podcast with Lucas as well. We've done a few bits, and we decided we wanted to do something quite inclusive, try to cover lots of football. It's about anything really. So we'll have guest episodes about specific teams. We'll have, like, on a Monday, we do our review show on the Premier League, on some European football. We also have a lower league show now, which Charlotte hosts with Scoops on a Thursday. And it's just, we have Matt Jarvis on, Wolves and West Ham, England International of the Week. So just some really exciting episodes. We've got a fantastic kind of wide range of team. And so I tend to host that. I was hosting that last night with Gaston from Redmen TV as well, from Liverpool. So I was well in my defensive element yesterday. I tell you, I was Arsenal and Liverpool all around me yesterday. But that's the fun of the pod. We enjoy it. We have a laugh and we have a bit of banter. And so it's great when we get you on as well. So yeah, Absolute Football Podcast. Check us out on YouTube and socials everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. The link to Sam's Twitter page is in the description, as is the link to the Absolute Football Podcast and the YouTube channel as well. So please do go check them links out. Do show your support, because I cannot stress enough, similar to what Doug has said, what they are doing is fantastic. So please keep it up and keep smashing it, because it's just great what you do. Love it from top to bottom. Let's have a look at what a few people are saying in the chat. First and foremost, if I just keep turning it off, everything's going wrong. And now it's just gone to the bottom of the chat.
Holiday Monday, you see. I don't know if it's you.
It is.
It's messed me up like you wouldn't believe.
Definitely has. Doug's in with the first comment. Says, good evening all. Evening to yourself. Mac's in as well. As I say, Mac and Doug are fully pledged members, as you can see with a little logo by the side of their name. Claret Zone is in the building. Hello to yourself, Ellis Davies. Yes, it does look like the player of the season in the Belgium League. Match resort is potentially Burnley bound. Let's see what happens there. Luke's in. Farting talk from Luke today, I'm guessing, with being a Nottingham Forest fan. I went Nottingham then. I was being nastier. Wait till we get to your game. Carl's in. Hope you're well. And yes, hope we can get a result in the cup tomorrow. It'll hopefully kick us on nice and early. Mr. V is in the chat. Good evening to yourself. Max says, evening, Dan and Kate and all. How's the new job going? Lost any fingers yet? They're all intact. Although a lot of people say that the sixth one's gone missing. So I'm not even going to go there. But it does go to say, if you do, plenty of folk just down the road that have spare ones. I'm sure there is. Clark Zone, good evening again. Cheers for a double good evening. It's that good. It's double good. Game week 3 predictions were a disaster for me. Only got 3 points. DL, you did worse than me. Even I only got 4. But hopefully this week goes a bit better indeed. Doug says evening to you, Sam, as well.
Evening.
And like shit in a field, they all follow. No, sure. How are you doing? Hope you're well. And yeah, I'm good. I'm sure Sam's good. And yeah, it should be a fun one. Mr. B, with that, wherever Mr. B is, Mrs. B is always keeping him in check. She's in the building as well. And yes, went on a first game on Sunday. And that's the thing, though. Even though we lost, I'm sure you made the most of it, and Mr. B will not let you forget it. Doug saying hi to Shart as well. Everyone talking about the fact that because it was Mrs. B's first game, that's the reason we got spanked off Villa. The less said about that Villa game, the better. I was in work on the day of the game, and they were reading the team news out, and I went, "Oh, Matty Cash." I said, "There's something about him." I said, "A guy with the most English name, just to be like some fake Polish guy." And then he goes and bags 2, and I was just like, I'm like, seriously, I could not have wrote it. And the missus is in the building. She's in, keeping me in check. So,
Rightfully so.
Yeah, exactly. Someone's got to, because the pills just do half the job. She does the other half. First and foremost, you are a Manchester United fan for your sins. But yeah, I mean, what have you made of your transfer activity so far this season? I think, is it 3 through the door in terms of positives, incomings, Mount, Hoyland, and Nana.
Oh no, that's the 3. Yeah, I mean it's been quite scatterbrained. They look quite good in that picture, don't they? They look really. I'm happy with the picture. Yeah,
You can tell that's before they've kicked a ball. They all look after.
Yeah, they can. Yeah. I didn't even know that's what Hoyland looked like. I've not seen him yet. Yeah, it's been a bit of a scatterbrained approach, and it's only getting quite panicky, I think now. The Mason Mount one was, I think we've overspent. I don't think it's the position we needed to focus on. He kind of is a Bruno and an Ericsson. We need a 6. We need some things in the midfield. We didn't go for instead, so we spent a lot of the budget. We couldn't get rid of some players. And Anano, I like that we're trying to do something different there. But Hoyland's now got a tremendous amount of pressure on him because he's injured. He's not played a lot. He's not got a lot of great experience, and we just seem short. And now we're just chucking stuff around. It's like the Fellaini transfer window all over again. I think today, was it Cucurella? Looks like he's a potential coming in. We've been mucking around with Amrabat for weeks and not sure what's happening with that either. Johnny Evans is now the answer. Who knew? So there we go. I don't really know what to make about it, to be honest with you.
No, it is madness. I mean, Doug says it here. Are you happy with the Cucurella rumours? Happy with Maguire staying? And will you get rid of your highest scorer in Scott
McTominay? I saw the Cucurella ones. It's a funny one because from what I've heard, Luke Shaw's not out for that long. Malacia might be out for a couple of months. It doesn't seem something that I think is. We've got Dallo. We could play on the left for a little bit. I don't think it's quite as a panic. But if there's a loan option there, I suppose Cucurella 12 months ago was quality at Brighton. Had a very poor season at Chelsea, but you still got hope there's something there. So if it's a loan deal, I'm less too concerned about it. It's someone else through the door. But what happens when you get Shaw and Malacia back, and suddenly we've got about 7 left backs and not enough midfielders? Varane's out for 6 weeks, which is a big blow as well, which definitely means I think Maguire stays at this point, because unless they're going to do something really drastic. I'd like McTominay to stay, if I'm honest, because I think we're short in that area. He gives you something a bit different, a break-up kind of player, a bit of height maybe sometimes when you're defending things. I don't think, having lost Fred, you can afford to get rid of McTominay if you don't get something else in. Don't think ultimately he's the standard of where we want to get to, but I don't think the transfers have taken us to that level either. So when you look at what other clubs have done around us, I mean, Harry Kane was the dream, wasn't it? And it didn't come off.
Yeah.
Didn't come off, and now we are where we are.
Well, it's true. I think Max says it there. What happened to the mass clear out that they were talking about? I mean, I think it just gets to a point, doesn't it, where because there's so much happening off the field as well, in terms of with the Glazers, the sale of the club is Sheikh Jassim. Actually, when's that going to actually, be fully announced that it's done? There's a lot of, lingering doubt around the club. The certainty of it. I think that obviously puts a lot of things, into perspective in terms of the squad side of things, right, doesn't it?
It's the distraction, isn't it? And for United fans, they wanted the sale sorted before the end of last season so that we could have a transfer window where we knew what was going on. And we don't have that. We've still got this uncertainty. I'd say, Alice Davis, he said there, we've got exciting players like Fernandes and that don't, left back. And the talks that he may go out on loan. So what's the difference of him versus a Cucurella if we believe he's got the quality? We've got a lot of young players that we're not kind of backing, which if we're not going to go heavy in the transfer window, we're going to have to, I think. So it's a really frustrating time because we are, after last season, the hope was like, right, now we need to push on. This is an important window to get right for Ten Hag's second season. And I don't think we've done that. And we haven't covered ourselves in glory in the opening 3 performances, as I'm sure we'll come to as well. So, yeah, difficult.
Yeah, I bet it has. Dora on tour says, "Are you going tomorrow?" Ben, I'm not. I won't be there. I'm back in work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but I do have Saturday, Sunday off, so I can go and watch us get spanked by Spurs on Saturday as well. Yay! But yeah, unfortunately, in work. And Doug, massive shout out to Rebecca as well. While also carrying your child, she also will become your chauffeur. I mean, congratulations, Rebecca, on passing your test. Tremendous work, and hope everything goes well with the pregnancy as well. But congratulations, first and foremost, on passing that test. And no worries, mate. Drop me a DM anytime, and yeah, we'll get that sorted, fella. Safe as houses. Luke says three home games in the league. You lose against Spurs. 3 home games in the league, and you lose against Spurs. It's going to be tough. To be fair, I don't think it will. We've come up against City, Villa, and if we do come up against Spurs, who are going to be in form, it's going to be a struggle. But it is what it is. It's football. It took, even though we won games, we did chuck a lot of games away in the Championship season where we're losing, conceding last minute equalisers. But eventually we found our feet, and I think that's what we're just going to do again this year. You never know. It's football. It's a funny old game.
It can be positive. And you might find away games that teams come out and play against you a bit more, so there'll be more space and things in reverse. So, every cloud, silver linings coming.
Yeah, I hope so. As long as it's not a thundercloud, I'll be happy.
We've had them down here. Don't worry about that.
No, Ellis Davis says December is our month. Nice run of games. That'd be weird because usually we're shit at Christmas, and now all of a sudden that could be our month. I mean, I will take it, opposites and all that. But let's get into last week's scores then. The guests absolutely did really well. Got 6 points last week. The missus absolutely romped it. She got 7 points because she got the Brentford Palace scoreline spot on with 1-1, and I just got 4. So as it stands in the totals, Sam, you've got big shoes to fill here because the guests are leading with 22 points. Then it's my other half of 18. Then it's me with 12. Now, don't even ask me why I'm so shit at predictions. It's why the bookies rinse me every week, and I think I just do it for shits and giggles, especially when I predicted City to beat Sheffield United 7-0. That one definitely wrong. And I can't even blame it on drink. It's just because I had the Sheffield United fan on and I wanted to wind him up. But Ollie, if you're watching, you did really well. You got 6 points, which still takes the guests to the top. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of it then, the actual predictions. And the rules are as follows if you're new to this situation. We did, over the years, just do where you pick a team, you get the point. Simple as. This time, we decided to up the ante a little bit, and we're going for a scoreline. If you get the scoreline spot on, you get 3 points. If it's still in favour of the team you picked, or you've gone 2-2, but it finished 1-1, you still get a point. So it's as simple as that. There's no need for a big yellow book saying how to do Premier League predictions for dummies. None of that shit. You can't even buy it. So don't even go looking for it. And if you do, then you're definitely a dummy. That said, let's get into... Oh, because I came out, I've knocked it off. So I need to bring that back in.
To come in back
so
with
behind.
I'm gutted it's not last week because I had Palace Brentford as well last week. So I've gone early, and now they brought me in to keep the guest score up, and I could well be like a Wout Weghorst here and return absolutely nothing.
Mate, when you're bottom of the league, I hope you return for with nothing. I want points this week. I do want points this week. I mean, let's talk about your game. I know it's going to be the last one that comes up, but coming up against an old enemy, Arsenal. I mean, how do you feel for it? They're those sort of games where, like you say, form and everything goes out the window, doesn't it?
It does. It's a worry. It is a worry on paper because the away form against the top half of the table last season was abysmal. It was the home form with Old Trafford was a fortress last season to get in the Champions League, where we were poor at Arsenal in a number of places. We spoke about it yesterday, obviously, with Lucas on the podcast being an Arsenal fan, and Arteta's trying to be a bit clever, I think, at the minute. He's with Partey at right back. There's a few things in that system, same as United's system, that isn't working. And I think I saw a quote today which was like, innovation for innovation's sake. He seems to be a little bit at the minute, but so whether he sticks with that on Sunday or whether he reverts back to Partey back in the midfield and, moving maybe White across and Gabriel in possibly, or whether he sticks with it. So Arsenal aren't on fire, and as you say, it kind of goes out the window a little bit. I'm just hoping it's kind of the spark. Last season we had 2 dreadful results, Brighton and Brentford, and then we went and beat Liverpool at Old Trafford when people were expecting us to have a real difficult day. So I think that's where the hope comes from. But I haven't seen any proof from this United side that I'm going to see anything different, and Arsenal will 100% be up for it, and I think you'll see a different Arsenal as well. So I'm a tad concerned.
It's one of them where right now it's like, yeah, whatever. But then when the game comes about, it's squeaky bum time, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's a nice one. You go, oh, it's Arsenal this weekend, and then suddenly, as the weekend goes through, you go, oh, it's Arsenal this weekend. And then, you sat down at Sunday, and they walk out, and you go, oh, here we go.
They turn it off at 10 minutes in.
Yeah, I would have done this week.
Well, Luton this week do kick us off Friday night, taking on West Ham United. As I said last week, I still do find it weird seeing Danny Ings with a skinhead. But Luton finally have a game at home. I think this could do them wonders, couldn't it? I mean, this is where you've got to put your money where your mouth is. They won a lot of games at Kenilworth Road last season. Fans are so close to the pitch. It's intimidating. VAR's being done from someone's front room. It's literally just absolute madness. A good chance for Luton to maybe try and get some points here, although they're coming up against the West Ham side who easily dispatched of an informed Brighton.
Yeah, I think it's the sort of game for Luton. They've got a target, I think. Their home games against a West Ham team that do very well against teams like Brighton that have a lot of possession. It was all kind of counter-attack. They had, 31 touches or something in the first half, which was the second lowest of any Premier League team ever, and that's all they needed. But it won't be the same like that. Luton won't dominate the possession. West Ham will have to come out a bit more, and does that maybe suit Luton? So I don't know. Luton are going to get some points somewhere, and I'm trying to think where they're going to get them. And this sort of arena seems like it could be the option. The sensible choice is West Ham, but I'm not completely convinced that Luton might not nick a draw, if I'm honest.
No, it is going to be technically a tough one. I mean, a lot of people were probably thinking this is. David Moyes did well last year. He did well to keep out of his job last year. To be honest, I think winning that trophy sort of took the eagle off his back. But do you think West Ham can sort of maintain that form? I mean, as we saw, a lot of people, myself included, last week, I think we all went for Brighton to dispatch of West Ham. Oh no, 2 of us were the other half and Ollie went for draws. I went for 1-0 Brighton, but. It's tough. Like I said, West Ham are coming up against an unknown quantity, really, in Luton.
They certainly are, and I think West Ham could have. Now they've got that European success under their belt. The confidence that will give the players, and I think they recognise that it hit their league form last season. They've still got some top quality players, and I think Jared Bowen in particular. Some of the moments that he had against Brighton, some of the touches for the goal and part for the assist as well. Was the Bowen we remember from the back end of the season before, from the Premier League. And I think he's such a massive, massive part to them. So, yeah, as you said, unknown quantity, that might be the thing that maybe spooks them at the weekend. But, I mean, they're in form. They're towards the top of the table. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna stick my neck out and go that West Ham are going to win 3-1, I think.
Oh, you're going for back-to-back 3-1 wins.
Going to be too much going forward, I think.
Back-to-back 3-1 wins. Ouch. Okay. By the way, the missus says she went for a 1-1 draw. I've messed up and put the names where I put the team like an asshole. So feel free to pick what you want. Because some stupid ass forgot to even put theirs in. But you're going 3-1 to the away side. Look, this is how clever it gets. Lastminute.com, writing it down on paper.
Keep it sorted. Oh, you're right. It's never trust me with the graphics. I think I did the lower league ones the other week, and we had Accrington third in both League One and League Two. So you can never rule that out.
No, I agree with what Doug's saying. Obviously, the Brighton West Ham game. I think there was a stat after about 27 minutes. It came up with the total passes, and Brighton had something like 290 odd passes. They were 1-0 down to West Ham, who had only touched the ball 13 times, and you're just like how? But I mean, it's good when it comes off. When it pays off, it does help. And Luton have made a lot of signings this year as well that have surprised people. They thought that it's tough when you're a newly promoted side, isn't it, to try and bring people in, because people are like, yes, I get a crack at the Premier League, but then their agent goes, hold on a minute, you're also going to be in a relegation fight for a full season. Do you want that? Or, do you have the gal to be able to try and push them forward? It's a very tough scenario, but I think Luton have done very well with their business. Ryan Giles, Tahith Chong, just two to mention, really. Ross Barkley, is a very good signing for them. Kaminsky, the keeper from Blackburn as well. Who I didn't even realise, I didn't know what he looked like, because all last I saw of him was Ashley Barnes shoving him into back at net. So, yeah, it's nice to see what he actually looks like. But yeah, look, again, like I say, these are players that you probably, for your team and my team, we'd have gone, not someone we'd have looked at, but can be very good on the day.
Yeah, they can, and they said they're kind of workhorses as well, which is what you need in that relegation fight. Not just that, but there's going to be times where Luton might be out of games, against some of the top sides 2-3, and you still need those guys to work. You still need them to put a shift in. And I think people like Giles, we had Chong at Manchester United as a kid, and he certainly put himself about. And was still kind of finding his feet at that age. I think he played in the Paris Saint-Germain win, actually, in the Champions League. He came off the bench before we had the loan spell at Birmingham. So it's good to see him kind of getting a chance. There's gonna be days that is gonna be tough, of course, for Luton, but those kind of players to try and dig in. It's just the question is the quality going to be enough over the course of the season to find the moments, and can someone like Carlton Morris do enough to try and keep them up, because they need someone to be banging them in for them for sure.
Yeah, definitely couldn't agree more. So you've gone 3-1. I don't know what the missus is going for, so I'll ask her afterwards, because I think she's just popping in when she can, or she's just listening when she can, or when the graphic comes up. I don't know. I'm gonna go 2-1. I'm gonna go 2-1 West Ham. I'll go 2-1 West Ham. I think Luton will surprise them, potentially go 1-0 up, to be fair, but then West Ham just have that Premier League knowledge to just go, yeah, all right. You think you're going to get your first win? Nah, mate, no chance. Speaking of teams that are in a relegation dogfight, even so early on, Sheffield United and Everton. It's cliche, but this is a 6-pointer, isn't it?
Oh, massively a 6-pointer! My word. I mean, what an early clash to have. I think it's the lunchtime kickoff, isn't it? Is it lunchtime kickoff, I think, on the Saturday? Oh, Everton have not turned up at all, really, yet.
No.
I mean, some of what I saw seemed to say their performances weren't as bad as it's kind of, apart from the Villa game, really, but they haven't scored a goal yet. I know they brought in this new striker, haven't they? Is it Beto they've signed from Udinese? He's come in. I don't know a lot about him, if I'm completely honest, so who knows what he's going to be like. But they need to find their feet. I think this is huge. Sheffield United would have been buoyed by the City game massively, because we all had them down to get absolutely trounced. And when they stuck that equaliser in, I think we were all pleasantly surprised, and then not surprised when Rodri scored 30 seconds later. But the fact that Sheffield United took them closer, you've got to imagine gives them a lot of confidence that not only did they hold a very potent City attack, but they scored a goal against them as well, and did cause them some trouble at times. So I just wonder whether that might be the difference. But then again, it's the kind of clash that Dyche loves, isn't it? This is a Dyche special, if there ever was one, to come and put a result out. So I don't know. I'm really torn with this one. This this could be anything. It could be anything.
It could. I mean, I went surprisingly last week. I thought that I put 0-0 to be fair, but I said if any team was going to edge it, I thought it would have been Everton. You know, at Goodison Park against Wolves have been pretty poor. See, you're getting all gobby in the chat. I told you 1-1. I don't care what you told me. I already told you that I'd messed up. Clearly, someone just decided to write the comment, turn the volume down, and ignore me. But if you want to keep it at 1-1 for the first one and whatever for this one, I can change it. Let me know. But apparently, I just can't do my job right.
There you go.
I'm not even. I'm just going to smile and wave, boys, smile and wave. I'm just listen. What score are you going for this one then? If you want to keep it 1-1 on the other one, or change that and keep this at 1-1, let me know. Put it in the chat since you getting gobby. But yeah, Sheffield United against Everton. Like you said, definitely one of those for Sean Dyche to maybe scalp. Let's not forget, you mentioned it there as well, Sheffield United grabbing that goal against Manchester City. They did well against them last season as well in the cup competitions, ran them close as well. It's a very, very tough one to call this. It's definitely a coupon buster.
100%, yeah. You can see a reason for all three results here, very easily as well. On a basis of a number of things, I think. Where do Everton's goals come from is more questioned. Where does it come from? That could be a difference. I think I'm gonna err on Sheffield United side just off the back of the City game, being at home, pressure on Everton. I'm gonna go 2-1. Everton will get their first goal, so it's not all doom and gloom, Toffee fans, but I'm gonna go for 2-1 Sheffield United.
2-1 Sheffield United. See, I've gone 1-0 Sheffield United. I think this is just going to be one of them where it's like really, really scrappy. But Sheffield United just, I hope they do. Thing is, I've got nothing against Sheffield United. Well, even after the 5-2 last season at Bramall Lane, I still don't. But I've definitely got nothing against them. I had to chuck that in there just to tell you that I didn't. But and my stepdad's a Blue. So I do like to rip the piss out of him again as well. Another reason why I want Everton to go down, just so I can take the piss. But yeah, this is going to be a very, very tough game to call. And Doug said Dirty Leeds have just equalised versus Salford. Damn.
Rescue act.
It is. Definitely. Brentford are at home to Bournemouth. And I mean, for me, it just seems like the results take care of themselves when Brentford are at home. They're a completely different outfit to who they are away. Is it G-Tech Community Stadium or something like that it's called? I think what Thomas Frank seems to get out of this Brentford side on home soil is fantastic, but away from home is where they struggle. This could be one where Bournemouth, again, similar with Bournemouth, you don't know what sort of team you're going to get from one week to the next. Although the manager that's gone in there, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name because I'll butcher it. But, he seemed to have made some very, very astute signings as well in the summer. Yeah,
it's a strange one because, I mean, so Brentford, as you say, at home, so dominant, so good, so difficult. I mean, they had the Tottenham game first, which was a draw, and Palace at home last weekend, which was a draw. Palace are difficult and caused a lot of teams trouble on their day too. So Brentford, it's still there. And Waymo and Visa have started the season very well. They've not missed Tony really so far in terms of the goal scoring, which is what everyone was kind of concerned about. And as you said, Bournemouth, they've made a lot of signings, but I've not seen any of them yet. They seem to have spent. I think they're definitely in the top half, I think, for what they've spent in terms of the Premier League teams this season. I can't really recall seeing many of them. I think Kluivert just played at the weekend a little bit. I think Ouattara's still injured from last season. He was one of their better players. Obviously, they've got like David Brooks back, but I've not kind of seen a cohesive maybe performance from them yet. And Brentford's just a very, very difficult place to go if they're on it. So I think this might be a bit of a runaway for Brentford. Actually, I think if they get going behind them, it could be tough going for Bournemouth. And I'm going to go 3-0 Brentford, actually. I think they'll be comfortable.
Oh, he's gone big.
Gone big for the bees this week.
He has. Big for the bees. And if he gets it wrong, he'll have a bee in his bonnet. Doug says, Shardy's goal was an absolute peach. The missus says, I haven't a clue what I'm doing with these predictions since the Prem started. I'm not even taking note of how other teams are playing and literally writing down my scores 2 minutes before I go live. Yes, because I have got ADHD and I do things last minute.
It's probably the best way to do it. Just chuck them down. Don't even think about it.
Yeah, exactly. Chuck them down. Except when you're trying to predict 7-0 and 4-0 all over the shop thinking it's going to be like that. It's meant to be. The missus says I'm in for a shocker at the end of this season. Probably because you'll win it like you won the last Premier League one that we did. Luke's gone 2-1 as well. Mr. B has gone for 2-1. Same as Luke. Alice Davis says, let's hope it's 3-0, Sam. Got Henrium and Umbuemo in his FPL team.
There we go. That's what drives most of our predictions, let's be honest. Whoever's in our FPL teams.
Yeah. And then Doug's keeping it going with the bee jokes. The bees will be buzzing at the weekend. Yes, they will. The missus went for a 2-1 win to Bournemouth, so she's gone opposite end of the spectrum. I want to... You know what? Again, this is why I'm bottom. I'm going to go completely opposite, and I'm going to go for a drab affair. Both teams cancelling each other out, and a 0-0.
Oh, goalless. It's goalless draw.
Yeah, an absolute dog shit last minute, last on match of the day fixture. But who knows? Who knows? Speaking of teams who have started dog shit but have a big bulk of signings, Spurs. I was going to say Burnley, but I couldn't. Like I say, Burnley have faced two teams now that have been in inspired form. You know, you face Manchester City after a loss against Arsenal in the Community Shield. You there for the whipping. You face a team that's beat Everton 4-0 and beat Hibs by 5 goals comfortably, and they come to Turf Moor and come away with all 3 points. It's tough. It is very, very tough, and it's going to be the same again. Like I say, Spurs coming to the turf. Ange Postecoglou has, to be fair, surprised a few people with the way Spurs are playing, because it's completely a change of tactic. You know, they're not moulding a team around that one player anymore. There's not that one focal point in Harry Kane. For me, I've said it for years. I've said it that they need to get rid of Harry Kane to flourish. You know, that 6 months that Kane was injured, we saw Son come out of his, come into his own, and absolutely lit up the Premier League. And then when Kane came back, they managed to form this partnership. Then that went dead for quite a while. I think what Postecoglou is doing at the moment, it is going to be a learning process. But again, Spurs have bought wisely. The likes of Maddison. The keeper they've got now as well there. I think, didn't they get him from Sporting or somewhere like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They've done well, and especially when people probably looked at Postecoglou's incoming as a bit of a Nuno move. You know, is he third choice? Was he first choice? This for me, and I'm not just saying it because it's Burnley, I think we are going to get tubbed.
It's a tough one to say. Tottenham have started. They've understood Ange very quickly, I think, in terms of what he wanted to do. He's playing with those inverted wing backs as he was doing at Celtic is kind of his mantra, and they seem to have picked those bits up pretty quickly. Obviously, I saw them play Manchester United a couple of weeks ago, and they got caught a few times in those areas trying to play balls, I think, on the half turn, and they got, I think, a team that would have been a bit more potent on the day, could have hurt them. But that's all part of the learning process when they're doing it. And I think the fact that they continue to do it, they didn't move away from it, and he's kind of got these wing backs that he thinks can do it over time. And adding Maddison in is just a sort of breath of fresh air, I think, for them in that midfield. And as you say, by not having Kane, that means they've got kind of different pitches up front now, different spaces for different players, and I think that will help them flourish. I think the Spurs fans were singing "We've got our Tottenham back" at the weekend. They feel like they're in a better position. You know, everyone I think had written Tottenham off to a certain extent at the start of the season. They're definitely not in my top 4 or sort of, you know, even top 6. But now after what you see in early weeks, how quickly they're picking this up, they're a different kind of threat. So I think they're going to be a handful for you guys to cope with, having played Villa and City. But I mean, from a neutral perspective on Burnley, it's hard to kind of get a gauge or a read on you yet, because I think having that middle game off as well. The Man City one was the first game of the season. It's Manchester City. You kind of write that one off, and then, as you said, you then walk into a Villa side that are kind of well prepped, and it seems like you almost like you've not been able to get your feet on the floor yet before you can start your Premier League season. And Tottenham, I don't think will be any easier. They'll certainly come at you. But there were things I saw against United in that first half that tells me they can be hurt, and that it's not a complete oiled machine yet, and they will have days that will be difficult. But under Ange, they're certainly going in the right direction.
Yeah, 100%. It's always tough coming to Turf Moor. I think Vincent Kompany said that at the end of last season, you know, that we're the 21st best team in English football. The way he puts it, you know, so beautifully like that. He wants all fans to come to Turf Moor and make it hell for the opposition. His words were to make Turf Moor hell for the opposite teams. And like you said there, fingers crossed we can finally put a team to the sword. We've done it before when we had a big fat R against our name in 2009. You know, Spurs went 2-0 up through Gareth Bale and Luka Modric, and we won the game 4-2. But, you know, we were already relegated by that point. So you sort of play without any fear. But I think that's the sort of thing that Vincent Kompany will instill over a season anyway, not just, you know, towards the end. This is a guy who's a natural born leader. And I think you could see in that second half against Villa as well, the first half an hour, we were poor. Defensive errors all over the shop. If people have seen the video online of Vincent Kompany absolutely bollocking the players at Anderlecht, then, you know, I expected something similar to that against Villa. And especially if you've seen the documentary where he's, you know, screaming and shouting and effing and jeffing at some of the lads last season. Even when we were winning games, you'd like to think you wouldn't want to be a fly on the wall in that dressing room when shit's going down. But speaking of shit going down, she thinks Tottenham are going to go down in this one. Does the missus? She's gone with a Burnley 2-1 win. Good lass. But he says that she don't think we'll win. She's just being optimistic. And then says, always backs the team, even if I think they'll lose. I'm prepared to lose a point, even if it doesn't go in my favour. I didn't expect them to get beat the last game in the slightest. Yes, when he screams Zerg, yeah, Zerg. It's like he proper changes. It's madness. But yeah, Luke says it there. Kane leaving is the best thing Spurs did, because goals are now coming from everywhere, not just that one person. They're spreading the goals around, which suits them better. Exactly. There's no I in team, but that's where Harry Kane goes, yeah, but there's me. It's like, I don't know why he sounds like the dog from the Churchill advert there for some reason, but yeah, how do you see this one faring then? It's like you say, Burnley still haven't got their feet off the ground.
I think that's it. I think there will be days, and when Kompany gets sort of ripped into them, that this is possibly a fixture that's maybe slightly a little bit too early to kind of be ready for off the back of the results you've had. I wouldn't be surprised if you got a draw, if I'm honest. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think Tottenham are flying, but I just think Maddison's is the difference for them at the minute, and I just think he can create something for them. They're playing with a lot of freedom. They got pressure off them to a certain extent this season from the fans and the expectations of everything else. And I think off the back of sort of 2 losses, it might get a bit difficult if Tottenham score first. So I'm going to have to go, unfortunately, for 2-1 Spurs win, I think. But if you draw, I'll be very happy for you. If you win, I'll be delighted for you. So.
To be fair, I've gone 1-1. My heart and my head are saying different things, but I've got to somehow back my team. And if it means that I can't back them by saying, they'll absolutely pace them, then I'll stick my neck on the line and go for a 1-1. I were tempted by a Desmond, to be fair.
Ooh.
But I thought I'd just go for a 1-1. Nobody wants to see me in a 2-2. So, yeah, you've gone 2-1 to the away side. Let's have a look at some of the scores then. Currently in the second round of the Cup. Full times coming in. Some have gone to penalties, etc. Swansea were beaten 3-2 at home against AFC Bournemouth. Cardiff won away from home against Birmingham City. Borough did a job over Bolton Wanderers with a 3-1 win at the, what is it, Tough Sheet Stadium, they've called it. Why you sell your naming rights to that anyway is bad enough. Norwich got a win against Bristol City. For some reason, I've just clicked it just to see if it was Ashley Barnes, but it's not. It was Plaqueta. Always checking up on Ashley. It's gone to penalties between Exeter City and Stevenage. Also pens between Fulham Spurs, as was said in the chat. Luton beat Gillingham 3-2 at Kenilworth Road as well. Newport Brentford has gone to penalties. That's an interesting fixture as well. Crystal Palace dispatched of Plymouth Argyle with a 4-2 win. Port Vale have beaten Crewe Alexandra on penalties. Portsmouth Peterborough is still in pens, as is Sheffield Wednesday and Mansfield. Stoke City 6, Rotherham 1. There is levels to football. Tranmere 0, Leicester City 2. So a good win for the Foxes. Wolves got a 5-0 win against Blackpool, which will do them no trouble in terms of confidence. Wrexham is in penalties against Bradford. Of course, the Hollywood story would continue for them, wouldn't it, if they can get through that. Sutton United beat Wycombe Wanderers 1-0. Reading Ipswich is still going. It's 87 minutes in, but it is 2-2 at the moment. And as quoted earlier, is Salford City 1, Leeds United 1, but we are 2 minutes over the 90. So that could go straight to pens as well. But yeah, I don't usually go through the games, but there's games going on.
Competition. So. It's the biggest competition in English football, as you know. As the current holders of the EFL Cup, there's no bigger competition.
It could have been the Tiger Cup, like that team there in white. It's all they've got going. Oh, do you remember when we won the Tiger Cup and the Audi Cup? Oh, back in my day. Next up, then, Chelsea against Nottingham Forest. Brendan Johnson may not be wearing the red of Notts Forest for much longer, linked with a move away. But Chelsea, every single time somebody goes to Chelsea from Brighton, apart from Cucurella, even Cucurella really failed, to be fair. Cucurella, Potter, now Salcedo, it's just going tits up at Chelsea. But Ted Bowley doesn't care because he'll just continue spending money, won't it? They've got a very young squad now, Chelsea, as well. They've tried to buy young and nurture a few talents, especially in the attacking areas with Nkunku and what the other guy? Is it David Detro Fofana?
Fofana, Nicholas Jackson up front.
Yeah, Nicholas Jackson. So they've got some good young talent going in there, but like I say, it's who do you think gets the upper hand in this one? Because Steve Cooper, for me, is such an understated manager.
Yes, I think it's another interesting one to see because Chelsea were very good against Luton on Friday, but again, so they're going to have tougher evenings against other teams. Attacking wise, Sterling looks unbelievable so far this season. It looks like the Sterling.
Yeah, he's come back into his own, hasn't he?
He's in that kind of zone where you can't touch him when he's on those dribbles, and he was fantastic, I thought, against Luton, but also very good in the first game as well. So I think Chelsea they're going to be one of these. I think early doors will be inconsistent, but towards the back end of the season, we'll start to see it come together. A bit like Arsenal did the season before last. It kind of back end you went, okay, now the squad's a bit more settled, the style of football settled. I think Nicholas Jackson's exciting. His movement's really good. Obviously, Nkunku's out for a long period, so we won't see him for a while. You've got to imagine at some point a midfield of Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo isn't going to be too shabby to, kind of give them that base. Chilwell's getting into all positions as long as he doesn't. You see the one where he passed it when he was in 6-yard box on a goal. I mean, that's decision making. Maybe needs a bit of thought. But I think Chelsea are. are starting to put pieces in. Malo Gusto played well again for them at the weekend. Has come in where Reece James is injured at right back. There are some players that are going to be starting to pull that together, I think. But Forest are difficult, as you said. Steve Cooper's no mug. He's done. I think they've been very good in their away games. Obviously, the United one was last week where they caused us a hell of a problem. And they were very astute against Arsenal as well, and were unlucky in that game. I thought not to get anything out of it at times. You know, the Brennan Johnson chance really early on. And again, they scored, but they scored kind of a little bit too late and left it a bit nervy for Arsenal. So he's switched it, hasn't he, to wing backs as well. He's now playing with Serge Aurier putting a couple of crosses for their victory over Sheffield United the other week. So I think they'll make it difficult for Chelsea. I don't think they'll get it all their own way. But what I saw at Chelsea the other day with Sterling, I think they'll win, but it will be tight. So I'm going to go for 2-1 to Chelsea.
2-1 Chelsea. The missus has gone for 2-1 Chelsea as well. So great man's. Where my shit man's going to go for something completely different, probably. But what did you make of Forest then? Because obviously they came out of the traps at nice and early. Like I say, 4 or 5 minutes in, and you're already 1-2-0 down. It's just madness.
It's crazy. They come out storming. I'll tell you a little story with that one because I was actually on Saturday. I played team tennis and I was playing for my team. We win a promotion battle on Saturday, and I was walking on court for the second match about 5 minutes past 3, and I'd already taken the decision. I'm not looking at the results. It's too much to hand. You know, I've got a promotion battle here. I can't be dealing Man United are playing. I'll leave it. And my opponent, as I walked past, went to his mate, United are 2-0 down, and started laughing. And I was like, immediately, okay, right, game on now. Game on. I'm annoyed now. It's ridiculous. So I sort of sat through not really knowing what was going on until I got to the end and thought, oh my God, we turned it around. But yeah, Forest came out of the traps brilliantly. United were a mess early doors, and Forest took advantage of it. They've got threats. They've got pace. He's a very good finisher. He's a very good striker. And caused us trouble. They'll be disappointed at 2-0, obviously, to lose the game 3-2. And while they've had good showings at Arsenal and United, haven't got anything to show for it. But they've got the 3 points again, as I said the other week. So it's a difficult start for them, but they'll be happy if they put in another good performance at Chelsea and say they nicked a point or anything else like that. Then they've got to be pretty happy after those early games. They seem a bit more settled this season. We haven't seen as much of the transfer window nonsense we had last season with the buses of players coming through the door. I mean, there's still transfer deadline day to go, so I wouldn't rule out anything crazy still from them. But I'm impressed with them. They were good against United, and as I say, I don't think Chelsea will have it all their own way.
No, and that's exactly my thinking. Alongside what you've just said, I've gone for a shock Forest 1-0 win. And I think they'll need that pick-me-up result when Burnley Tonkin tomorrow night in the Cup. So he says through gritted teeth. But yeah, I just seem to think that, like you say, if they can keep Sterling quiet, then the rest of the game should really take care of itself. You said there they've got a very good young squad that they've put together, and it's been needed. It's been needed at Forest. I mean, we saw the first season they went up. They brought in 30-odd players, 24 players, I think it were, to be exact. But it's about timing, getting them to gel, and I think that was another reason behind Marinakis' decision to obviously extend Steve Cooper's contract. Thinking, well, a lot of people calling for this guy's head, but we've backed him, so let's give him a chance. Let's give it time to see if these sets of players can gel and work. And like you said, you got that bit of a shock early doors. But the one shock that people need to know now is, how did you get on a new promotion clash?
Yeah, we've taken it to the final week. There you go. We've got a massive clash on Saturday. Yeah, we played mixed doubles and men's doubles, and we were 3-4 down going into my final men's doubles, and we won that. We won in straight sets to make it 4-4. So it's now we've got a rivals clash. It's like a Manchester derby on the final day of the league next week. So I'm in rest mode until Saturday, and then I'll go again. So yeah, it's going to be tense. It's going to be tense.
It is. Mr. Burnley says he's going to be at Norwich's ground. So they're doing new drainage and water circulation pumps for irrigation and sewage. I mean, what sort of football team calls their training ground irrigation and sewage? That's just disgusting.
That's the two new signings United are looking at.
It could be worse. You could go for 2 English forward in Benton and Edgers. Good old Martin Bassett. Salford and Leeds has gone to penalties. And as Luke says, Burnley. Burnley who? Who's Burnley? Have you heard? Says the guy who works there. The teams then that have won on penalties, I'll just go through them to clarify them results. Starting with, it's typical, gone so far down the list. Had to, didn't it? Exeter beat Stevenage on penalties. Fulham came out on top over Spurs in the shootout. Brentford dispatched of Newport from the spot. Port Vale got the win on pens over Crewe. Peterborough did the business away from home at Fratton Park by beating Portsmouth on penalty kicks. Mansfield also taking a win at Hillsborough on pens. Bradford beat Wrexham. Wrexham are out. The Hollywood story has ended there. But like Doug says as well, it has gone to pens between Salford and Leeds, and it would not surprise me if Reading and Ipswich goes to pens as well, as that's 6 minutes into added time, and it is still 2-2. Mr. B says, I live in Lowestoft. People started calling me Burnley and the name stuck. Not wrong with that, mate. Not wrong with that when you're a Claret. Speaking of, I don't know, can you call them a Premier League team? It's just basically Manchester City and 19 others. Yes, I know there's going to be people in the chat that say, why have you got a picture of Mitrovic? But I took a picture from somewhere that had this picture and I just used it and it clicked last minute that Mitrovic is no longer there. However, he's wearing a Fulham shirt in the picture, so do one. This could be, I mean, it's another tough one. Pep may not still be on the sidelines as yet. I think that was a massive miss for Manchester City the other day as well. He's always up and about. He's very animated on the touchline. So for him to not be in and around it, calling the shots, that could have been another reason why it favoured Sheffield United at home. But this one, back at the Etihad, coming up against Fulham. I mean, Fulham will take confidence from clearly beating Spurs tonight on pens, but then it could have also took it out of them playing 120 minutes of football. Well, not 120 minutes of football, sorry, it goes straight to pens. But, having that extra game midweek, then playing City, you're almost asking for trouble, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a long week for them because, I mean, they also had Arsenal away as well, of course, at the Emirates. I mean, Emirates, the 120 minutes of midweek, I've not seen the team. Maybe he's juggled around a little bit lineup-wise, so he's kept some people fresh, but you don't want to really be going at Man City off the back of a lot of heavy legs. But, again, adrenaline's probably pushed them through with a few of those results. City, as you said, like, Pep obviously was a massive miss at Sheffield United. We all kind of had that as a clear City win. Yeah, the mentality showed and they got through it. Rodri always seems to be, it was Ilkay Gundogan, doesn't it? And now it seems to be Rodri with the big goals and the big moments. Got them the goal obviously at the weekend. You can't see anything but a City win, but they haven't had it all their own way at times this season. Yet they still got 9 points. That's the worry. City have not yet quite clicked. Haaland missing penalties makes me worried that we're on the verge of an apocalypse as well. So there's there's concerns there, but I can't see anything but City really going through the gears. Fulham did make things difficult for Arsenal, even with 10 men. 10 men to get back in that game is very, very impressive. Palhinha back for them is absolutely huge. Again, I'm surprised people haven't come in for him this summer. I know he's been injured. Yeah. I'm surprised he stayed. Still a week to go. You never know. Maybe we might get, by the time we get to the match, it could be he could have gone, and that might make a big difference. So, yeah, I think it's a City win, isn't it? It's just a question of what score you go for, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, they've just signed Timothy Castagne from Leicester as well, which some Leicester fans aren't really that arsed because apparently he was a passenger last season, which is strange. It's strange to hear because you'd have thought, I mean, it'd have been a big earner there as well. I know Burnley are linked with Patson Daka from Leicester, and I think, is it United who are after, or is it Spurs? It's Spurs, sorry. Spurs are after Wout Faes as well, if Eric Dyer leaves the club. So
David
could be an
Lewis
absolute
2.0
raid.
without Face. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad I hope he's not linked with us. Jesus, Face and Maguire scares the life out of me.
What you saying scoreline for this one then?
Scoreline, I think it will be 3-0. 3-0 to Manchester
3-0.
City.
You wrote that just as Mac put his
Ah.
comment in as well. He went 3 as well. So you went 3-0. The missus went 3-1. What do I go for? I always tend to realise I go for something different, and then I do shit. So maybe I should just stick with one of your guys' answers. You know what? I don't think Fulham will bag, but I'm going to go 2-0, just to be different. Just to be a bit different. But you never know. Football is football.
Football is football.
It is. You do. Brighton, they'll definitely want to start putting things right against from that result against West Ham. Very out of character and very out of sorts. However, that said, they had the most possession. They were all over West Ham. It was just that they couldn't finish for love nor money. They're coming up against a Newcastle side, though, who are clearly very adaptable. We saw them in the City game not so long back as well. They went a bit more defensive, did Newcastle. Sat back quite a bit instead of trying to take the game to them. Yes, they narrowly lost the game. But again, when you've got a team so versatile with talent all over the pitch now, this is another tough fixture for Brighton. Another tough fixture for them. Do you see the home side potentially getting back to winning ways, or do you think Newcastle have the chance to put them to the sword again, and that Brighton's early start has now just been chalked off?
I think it's difficult because, as I say, we all know Brighton were very good against the top 6 last season. They played very well in the big games. It suited them somewhat. I think the way that kind of style of that match worked. But I also think they're no surprise now to the top teams. You know, with Brighton, you've really got to be doing your homework and how you can come up against them. Brighton's strength is all going forward. I do think they're susceptible at the back, and Newcastle are very good at winning back possession quite quickly and then hitting on you, as Villa found out in that first game. They're obviously coming off the back of the Liverpool game, so they're going to be hurting big time after that. The way that went down in the last few minutes. I can only imagine that Howe was fuming at the end of that. The players will need a pick-me-up. And maybe sometimes a bigger game is what you need. You need something to go at. So it may well work to Newcastle's favour, perhaps. I think the way that Brighton play to be able to counter and to get opportunities. But that said, as you said, they're still dominated. They still played the way I think that De Zerbi wanted to play. And he was still kind of quite praising of them after the West Ham game, rather than we were terrible. He was praising that they were doing the things he wanted them to do. So I think this is a really tough one to call. I really do, because it depends how they both react to their first losses. It depends how Newcastle can neutralise, I think, Brighton at the back. But I'm gonna go for. I think it will be a score draw. Newcastle, I don't think will want to lose this, and they'll having what happened with Liverpool, which might make them shut it up a little bit more than they would. I'm going to go with a Desmond here. I'm going to go with a Desmond because Brighton do excite me. Brighton I do like to watch, and they do like a goal, so I'm going to go 2-2.
Good old 2-2. Good old Desmond. There's always, I think, every game week someone chucks in a Desmond.
You've got to pull a Desmond out. I'm not going for a double Desi. That's too much. But I can dream.
No, I predicted a Desmond for Newcastle Liverpool last week. Ollie went for a Desmond for Brighton West Ham. So
it had 4 goals in it.
It did. It certainly did. The missus went 3-1 to Newcastle for this one. Seems to think that Newcastle will do the biz. I think they're a lot better side at St James's Park when you've got the Magpies faithful behind you. Brighton at the Amex is very tough, and like I say, what it seems to be that no matter who Brighton sell for a ridiculous amount of money, there's always someone there waiting in the wings to sort of go, right, let's get that conveyor belt running again. Next one in. and they seem to hit the ground running. This is a very tough one to call. A very, very tough one to call. I think there'll be goals. I think there'll definitely be goals.
It's tough, isn't it? It's a toughie. It is a toughie.
It depends. Like I say, if Brighton turn up and play like they did pretty much against West Ham, but be able to find the back of the net, then we could be in for a different game. But again, we saw from that Newcastle-Liverpool game the other day that, I think to start the game, Pope had like ridiculous amount of saves. He's literally flying about here, there, and everywhere. Which, as Burnley fans, we know how much of a good keeper he is and how much they got him for a steal. But no hard feelings. This one's pickled me a bit.
It could go so many ways, isn't it? And I think because they both lost last week, it just adds that extra question mark, doesn't it? And we've not seen, because it's so early in the season, you've not seen how these sides react to those situations yet.
I'm torn with a 3-2, but to who? That's the question.
I am denied with, because I think if it's 2-2, I was thinking, is there going to be a late goal? Depending how quickly how it comes, I was thinking on the same lines. Brighton are going to push. Brighton will push in that scenario, but do they then leave themselves exposed to where Newcastle's strong on the counter, particularly if they're bringing on like a Harvey Barnes or a Callum Wilson like they've done? So it's there's narratives you can pick anywhere, to be fair.
That's true. That's true. I've gone for a 3-2 to Brighton. I have called it. I've gone for 3-2 to the home side. I think they'll have that extra edge. But then yet again, so will Newcastle. Chucking a result away against a 10-man Liverpool team.
Yeah.
Which could have even been worse for Liverpool because Trent, for me, should have been sent off. But hey ho, it is what it is. Matt says that's his first Desmond of the season, predicting a 2-2 for this one. Mrs. B says she's been quiet tonight, tucked in bed, feeling crap, still watching and listening. Mr. B is predicting tonight for us both. Well, as long as you get better, that's the main thing. Well rested, well recovered, and then back at the turf on Saturday, maybe. Fingers crossed. If we lose again, though, it's definitely your fault. Stay away. Matt says that's okay. Take a while to get over defeat. We'll get used to it by the end of the season. On to the next one then. 3 left to go. Palace versus Wolves. Again, another tough one. I didn't think Roy Hodgson would stay this season, for one. I thought he would have, the summer would have done really well for Palace to try and find a replacement. But he wanted to stick it out for another year. Fair play to him. Just goes to show age is a number, and he'd rather spend time in the dugout than with the missus. Must be something. All them jobs he's been putting off for 65 years. But Wolves brought in Gary O'Neill, who, to be fair, I felt was unfairly dismissed from Bournemouth after the job that he did as well. Wasn't given a fair crack of the whip. Like I said, they got a 5-0 win tonight in the cup. But again, Selhurst Park, when that's rocking, Croydon can be a horrible place to be.
That's
without the football on, by the way.
just in general, Palace are they're such a difficult team, particularly since Hodgson's come back. The run at the back end of the last season was superb. I mean, we were all kind of having a bit of a joke with Hodgson coming back. He's, obviously his age, we thought he'd gone off to retirement, which is well earned, by the way, and I think he kind of said, no, I've still got something to prove, and he has. And then to sort of say, no, I've got something to prove again, I'm going to come out and show that I can manage them through a season. Obviously, they're in a position where they've lost Wilfried Zaha, but they've got players like Eze coming through, and they managed to keep Michael Olise as well. I think Chelsea were heavy trying to get him in. And
didn't he sign a new deal?
He signed a new deal. So then if he does go in the future, then they're going to get a fee. And they've got some decent players in there. I think, I like Palace. I think they're a difficult team to beat, particularly there. And Wolves, for me, they got a result against Everton, which I did think they might do, to be fair. Against Everton, they played well against Manchester United, and then they were well beaten in the second week. I forget who they played, but I remember them getting well pumped. I think it's going to be. I'm going to have to agree with Mr. B, though. I think it'll be 2-0 to Palace. I could see 1-0 as well, but I just think, I just think Palace at Selhurst Park will be too difficult for Wolves to handle. There's not going to be a lot of goals. I think it'll be tight, but 2-0, I'm going to go for Palace.
2-0. I can understand that. I've gone 2-0. I've gone 2-0 to Palace. I just I can't see Wolves getting out from it. Again, like you said there as well, the likes of, Zaha leaving. A lot of people would have thought, well, that's it. Your chance is gone because he's the only one who sort of gives you a goal return. But they're starting to, again, as we've seen with other clubs, Grealish leaving Villa. Villa are flourishing. Kane leaving Spurs. They're starting to find their feet a little bit. It can happen. As much as you've got a star asset, if you eventually just be that man to bite the bullet and say, hold on a minute, we could build a team here without having to sort of, just play to one person's strengths. And
Plus, they're a funny team, I
work.
think, because they've got some players that you might, on the surface, like I was looking about Michael Olise with the deal that he came in for when Chelsea were trying to get into him. I think he was like fifth in the assist charts last season. He got double figures last season for assists. And it kind of went under the radar because they had that horrible, that period under Vieira that was, where they were losing every week. But they still got some numbers. Eze's a really good player as well that they've got in there. So young players coming through in different positions too. Palace love a fullback. They always produce a fullback at Palace. And I think they're getting Dean Henderson. I think is the latest. I think that Dean Henderson might be coming in, but they've already got some Sam Johnson there as well. So a couple of English keepers. So
has Jack Butland gone back there, or has he gone on a free?
I think
he went to Rangers, didn't he?
Rangers, of course he did. Yeah.
I forgot about that move. Again, very interesting fixture. Two sides that, well, you couldn't pull them apart. There's a few games this week that you just don't touch. Don't touch if you're a betting person.
Yeah, there's no coupon picks here. This is
No, that's true. But there is big news coming out of the EFL and the Carabao Cup. And Doug says it there in big capital letters. Salford are through on pens, beating Leeds United 9-8. So it did go for a fair whack. To be honest, that will boost the confidence of Salford, and also Gary Neville will be rubbing his hands together at how much media attention he can milk out of this. But yeah, is what it is. Speaking of people who love attention, Liv VAR, Paul, taking on Aston Villa. Klopp and Liverpool needed a better season than last year. Their campaign last year was really up and down. Not the greatest for Jurgen Klopp. A lot of people were saying, the blame lad at the door of FSG. But you've got to look at the manager. And sorry, Doug. But yeah, this is a game where you've got two attacking sides. Klopp against Emery. It's, is it going to be are we looking at a guten tag or a good evening when it comes down to it?
I always wish it's a good evening because it's just love Unai Emery. And yeah. So Liverpool didn't perform well last season. There were points, they had games, they had moments. The back end of the season, they were a lot stronger, which worried me a bit. I think that's possibly why I enjoyed it more the back end of the season, because I thought they're coming. I can see this Liverpool side is improving and coming. And I think on the prediction show we did on the Absolute Football podcast, I think I have them second. I do think that this is a Liverpool that's transitioning off the back of the Newcastle return as well, because there's two ways to look at it with the Newcastle game. Obviously, you had the decisions, the Van Dijk, the Trent, Alexander-Arnold thing, but Liverpool went shaky for about 15, 20 minutes after that initial Alexander-Arnold kind of booking thing. Then they rushed in the situation. They conceded not too long after that. They had Van Dijk, and they kind of struggled, but then tactically turned it on really well in the second half to manage that Newcastle team enough to give them the go where he chucked the Darwin Núñez card, and Núñez absolutely stormed it. I mean, we were saying last night on the pod that one thing about Núñez from this last season was his composure wasn't there. He'd kind of flap, he'd panic, but that was ice cold. The finishing against Newcastle was, that first finish in particular was stunning at a big moment in the game. The question for me is surely Klopp has to start him, because I think you kill his confidence if you don't.
Big time.
Against Villa, to start him to maintain that sort of that push. So it's a really exciting game. Both sides can play some exciting attacking football. I worry a little bit for Villa in some of the bits I saw against Newcastle if they play that high line that they did. They seem to continue when Newcastle were continually getting in, and Villa kept getting picked off. If Liverpool can play through that press, last thing you're going to be wanting is Diaz and Salah and Núñez and that on the turn, on the half turn. And we saw that's how they got in against Newcastle. So I think Liverpool, unfortunately, are going to ride the wave of the excitement that they had over Newcastle at a bouncing Anfield, I've no doubt. But Villa will make it tough. And I think we'll still be an attacking threat against them. Van Dijk's obviously suspended. So I'm going to go for more goals there. I think I'm going to go 4-2 to Liverpool.
4-2 to Liverpool. It's gone big. Gone big
for this one.
Which is strange. I'm just looking at the head-to-head matches actually of this game. And when it comes to both sides facing each other at Anfield, last season it finished 1-1. In 2021, it finished 1-0 to Liverpool, 2-1 as well. I think they might have messed up with them ones because they've got 2 games in the Premier League season at Anfield. But hey ho. But they've always seemed to be, when it comes to the Liverpool games, 3-2. There's been 1-0 Villa, but that's going back to 2014. They always seem to be quite low scoring, which, it's one of them where I'm now looking at stats and then going, oh yeah, I'll go low scoring. Yeah. But Doug says it here as a Liverpool fan himself. He's gone 2-0 over Aston Villa. Got lucky last week. Núñez is going to have a great season. Well, you'd like to hope so. Alice Davis says, to all the Leeds fans, if you know the words, everybody, join in. But yeah, Max gone for 3-2 to Liverpool, as is Kate. She's keeping up with the scores now. She's brought the Palace one into play, but gone 3-2. Luke's gone for 2-1 to Villa. And Alice Davis has gone 3-1 VAR. Love it. You know what? I am going to go a close score. I'm going to go. You know what? I'm going to stick my neck on the line and chuck in my little Desmond for this week.
Oh, he's pulled the Desmond card. We've got to have one a week.
Yes, he's got to pull the Desmond card out. 2-2 result. I'm going to go for in that one. But here's the big one, Sam. Here's the big one. The Super Sunday evening clash. Arsenal versus Manchester United. You've got to play him twice a season. I mean, talk to me about this one.
This is big. I know it's going to be big because I've got a mug at home that's a 2-pint mug, and it's a Super Sunday big clash. It's I don't need to be going to the fridge mid game or anything. There's too much to go. It's there hopefully to settle nerves, and I won't need it to do consoling or anything else like that. But there's a worry. Starting with United, my worry for the weekend's game is obviously Varane. The news Varane's out injured as well. So you've now got 2 of the 4. You've got Dalot probably playing at left back, unless they rush Cucurella through and suddenly he starts at the Emirates, which would be crazy. You've got Lindelof probably now with Martinez. Martinez hasn't started too cleverly either at the start of this season yet. He still looks like he's kind of finding his feet. If he starts a midfield 3 of Casemiro, Eriksen and Bruno, we're going to get caned. There's not going to be enough legs to deal with Rice and Odegaard and everything around there, and I worry for that. You've got Saka up against Dalot on that side. That's a worry. Does he start Martial up front, who's pointless? He's when you stood going, would Wout Weghorst be better than this? I'm actually asking that question. That's when you've got a problem with your striker. Thinking, what's going on with this? I'm a little bit worried. I think Ten Hag might do something different this weekend. I think he's going to have to. I don't think he can play that formation that way. He might try something different. He might try, I don't know, a split wide striker or something to try and get something else in the middle. But I look at who's available in the midfield and think, how are we going to stop that? How are we going to control this game? So I think we're in a bit of trouble. This is definitely a head versus heart pick, that's for sure. My heart wants to say that we can get something out of it, but I don't see how we're going to be strong enough to deal with what I think Arsenal will bring to us. So with a heavy heart, I think I'm going to have to say 3-1 to Arsenal.
Oh,
I think this is going to be a tough game for us to manage.
I mean, it was 3-2 last season, wasn't it, at the Emirates? If you remember, Eddie Nketiah with 90th minute winner.
Yeah, they pulled it back. We had a really good Rashford goal in the first half, but we played quite well for a portion of that game, and then they came on strong, and that was an Arsenal that was purring last season, and that was probably as we were in this period of games where we were playing too well. So yeah. It could be dangerous. There's just so many players that can hurt you with Arsenal now that they didn't have before. Saka, Odegaard, Jesus is coming back from injury, Martinelli. Although the Havertz thing I don't think is working for Martinelli. I think Havertz is causing Martinelli more problems than what Havertz is actually doing himself. He's getting in. Martinelli's struggling for space. They've got Trossard who can obviously do stuff. There's danger. So I'm going 3-1, but I will be more than happy to be wrong and lose a point on this one.
I'm sure you would. Max gone 2-1. Cheating bastards. United have just started terribly and got injuries along with shitheads. Doug wants Arteta to replace Aaron Clangerdale and replace him with David Raya. The missus has said 2-1 Arsenal. Sorry. For being behind, headache. Oh, she's playing the headache card before I have to shut the laptop down and go upstairs. Well played. You play the headache card already. I've not even gone up and tried nudging you and nothing yet, and you're already playing it. Brilliant. May as well just make up a bed on the couch. It's all right. I'll just chat to Sam on that. Won't need you.
This is it. We'll do all the leagues.
Yeah, exactly.
League 2 next.
Yeah, we'll do a Bundesliga, but we'll just go off people's bundas instead of the actual league. And now apparently a filthy tart. And Max says you're not getting laid. Yeah, I'll probably get laid clean out just for even coming out with that comment. But yes, I have said this before. Doing a certain act releases endorphins that clears headaches. Say no more. New neighbours. I don't get you, but I'll just play along. Yeah. I don't know which one. Again, this is another tough one. It's one that the media builds up left, right, and centre, but it could be one of those where you get goals. It could be a drab affair. If Arsenal want to mean something this season and actually make, try and put that error of chucking the title away so late. What's good for getting rid of headaches? New neighbours. Yeah. Especially after the last one. Well, not the last one, but next door. arseholes. I do get it. And Doug's coming with his I say annual, but weekly joke. Why do owls not dance in the rain? Because it's too wet to woo. You know what? I was going to say his jokes will get better, but his missus is soon to have a child, which means they are going to get worse. Chris is in the chat as well. Chris, how are you doing? You little sex pest. How are you? What do you call a fish wearing a bow tie? Sophisticated. I thought that was just. What's he called? Fleming from James Bond. He speaks like, doesn't he? Sophisticated. Forgot what he's called.
Polish centre back, isn't it? That's been called it.
They'll need him if Face goes to Spurs. But no, it should be fun. This is what I mean with this chat. This is what I mean with this show. It just goes completely like one way with predictions, and then just goes nosedives. It's like going on the big one at Blackpool. I thought I would just tune it in.
Very good.
Fair play, sir. I'll give you that one. Give you that one. I don't even know how I can follow that up. Oh, yeah, my prediction for Arsenal, Man United. That'll also be comedy goal because I'll get that fully wrong. You know what? Ye has little faith. 1-0 United.
Oh, a clean sheet as well.
Yeah, a late smash and grab.
I mean, it's the potential. Someone could make a statement here, really, about their season. I do think that is possible. I mean, Anana needs was it De Gea from 5 years ago? We turned up at the Emirates and made about 47 saves, maybe.
Hey, you never know. It can happen. Can happen. Penandes, as Davies says.
I'll take it. 1-0, and it's the worst VAR decision you have, and everyone's screaming about it. Yeah, that'll do.
Sure. Hey, mate. However it comes. Chris says, keep our place warm for next season. See what you did there. Get your nice little fish jokes in. Max says, 1-0 United. You're on crack. It's the closest crack I'll be getting. Anyway, Chris says, he'll meet again. Oh, look, it is coming out with all these fish jokes. I just don't know why. But that is the predictions. Done for this game week. And it's gonna be an interesting one. There's quite a lot of tough games to dissect. I mean, Sam, where would you be happy with Manchester United finishing at the end of this campaign?
What would I be happy with? It's got to be top four. It's got to be top four with what they want to be doing. Am I convinced that that's going to happen so far? Not 100%. Liverpool have got stronger. Chelsea, I think, have got stronger. Even Tottenham have got stronger from what we've seen so far. But it's a long season. And the way I felt after 2 games last season, if you'd have said we'd have made top 4, I'd have told you you were ridiculous. And I feel better than I did last season. So I'm hoping on that. I think it's got to be top 4. There's not a side there that can challenge for the title. And I think they're still going to have a lot of trouble. Is that good? What does that prove to us? I don't really know. But now you've hit the top 4, you've got to try and stick there, hoping that we can sort ourselves out this season in terms of what's going on behind the scenes. Get stable base, stop making stupid decisions, sort of transfer business. There's a long list I've got of things that we need to do. And just try and hope that we can
2 or 3 shows in its own, isn't it?
Exactly, and hopefully have a decent run. It'd be nice to have a bit of a run in Europe as well. Now we're back in the Champions League. A couple of exciting ties come the new year would be nice. But yeah, anything more than that, I'm dreaming. Anything less than that, I'm probably disappointed.
I mean, Max just throwing it out there. United will be looking to get top 5, maybe 6. Is this where United sort of falter? Do have a bit of a stinker like Chelsea? You never know. Like we said earlier, football is a funny game and anything can happen. All it takes is a couple of injuries, shit happening off the pitch. It's just, that's the best thing about football and the seasons. nothing is written or set in stone unless you're Manchester City. Then you just walk away with it every year. Sam, really appreciate it. Thank you very much for giving up your time on a Tuesday night as well. I really do appreciate that. Again, tell people where they can show their support to Absolute Football Podcast, because what you guys do, phenomenal, and I commend all the work that you do.
Yeah, thank you, man. So, yeah, I appreciate having me on. Really enjoyed it. It's been great chatting with you as always. Yeah, we are the Absolute Football Podcast. Me and the team, we do Monday nights at 8 o'clock is our weekly Premier League podcast. Lower League podcast on a Thursday, hosted by Charlotte and Scoops as well. They'll be on this Thursday. This Friday, we've got Transfer Deadline Day. We're going to do live Transfer Deadline Day. My yellow tie is in the post on the way.
Have you got one?
Oh, I'm going full on. We're going full on hosting duties on Friday. So, yeah, 8:30 till 11:30. We're going to cover just after the transfer window to watch the chaos unfold, I'm sure. So, yeah, Absolute Football Podcast. We're on Twitter. We're on TikTok. We're on the YouTube channel. Do follow us. We've got some great stuff on the channel. Interview with Matt Jarvis, as I said last week, which is really exciting. You can still watch your episode as well, Dan. They're all about Burnley, of course, that we did.
Yeah.
That's still there to watch more views. So, yeah, anything you do support Absolute Football Podcast, that would be great. And you might be seeing Dan on it again soon, at some point in the future.
Yeah, Friday for a 15-20 minute cameo, like you said. You never know.
When Burnley signed this whole coach load of players, and then we'll be like, right, Dan, who are all of these guys? They've stolen
20-minute segment comes into like 8 till 11:30.
Yeah.
But no, really do appreciate it. Guys, in the chat, people watching, if you haven't been in the chat, still appreciate it. Whatever you do, please do get into the description of this video. Go check out Absolute Football Podcast. Tremendous what Sam and everybody there does. Like, honestly, the depth they go in on teams, like the work Shaw is doing with the lower league teams as well. I mean, she had to have her own show when she supports a club that's non-league. Of course she did. It's only fair. It's only fair. However, she's got a love affair with Mason Mount, so I'm sure she'll hope that 1-0 win that I've predicted over Arsenal comes in the way of a Mason Mount finish. But you never know. You never know.
Well, I think he's out for 6 weeks, so he'll do very well. I think Scotland.
All right. Well, I'll tell you. Well, then you'll have to tell the boys to turn FIFA off and go to bed, because school's starting soon, and to get back into routine. Then she wants Mount to get on the score sheet.
This is it. I'm gutted, because that was my dream. To be fair, Lucas on the pod and Josh are not big Mason Mount fans, so I thought 1-0 away at the Emirates and Mason Mount would be perfect, but not to be. We'll have to wait for the return match, maybe.
We will. At Old Trafford. Couldn't be any better. Couldn't be sweeter. No, thank you very much to everyone for tuning in. As I say, you can get involved on all our socials. Please do go check them out. I know they're only tiny up there, but I had to make them that small so that the graphic for that would just fit nicely. But, you know, it just is what it is. I had to do it about 3 or 4 times as well, just to make sure I got it right. But you guys have been absolute legends. Sam, as always, legend status, no matter what. You, sir, you are the shit. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Who you support is shit, but you are the shit.
You're not the first person I've heard that often of. I'm sure you won't be that off.
Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We'll be back potentially, like I say, Friday night. Catch us over on the Absolute Football Podcast. We'll be there for a little cameo. And also, we may be doing a late night match preview if I can. If not, because I'm working Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'll be around Saturday, because I'm hoping to be able to bring you another live watch along, the first one of this season. So yeah, do tune in for that, and like I say, get involved. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of the week, and yeah, I'll let you go and get to sleep, because like I say, you've got work, and I'm just keeping you up talking bollocks. So until then, take care. Thanks again for watching. Stay safe. Keep cool. Enjoy it. Cheers again. Bye.